getting pulled back to this statement is, and the issue is the is, because the is can refer to the constituents of the physical statement, right? What is the statement? The statement is symbols. And then also the is points to what it means, what the statement is describing, right? So the is points to the thought realm and to the physical realm. So it's kind of the is that's the two-way gate that's flipping back and forth, eh? Does that make sense? It's the is, because the is means two things. This statement is a collection of symbols, and it is relating to thought, which is the false part. I'll write it down. Trying to reconcile quantum mechanics with gravity, it can't be done because it's referring to two different things. The is referring to both the physical realm, its physical existence, and its meaning, what it is trying to describe. Yeah. The is can be what the statement is. Statement is. Okay. Is that a joke? I'm on to you. Another one, another famous one is, "Are you okay? You're so c." Yeah, yeah, that's how inverted things are. Yeah. The guy who's sitting there not looking at his phone, just kind of with a grin on his face, just sitting there, that's the odd guy. Everyone else that's looking at their phones and having these manufactured ha, 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 and that's not the weird part. That's the normal people. The weird guy is the one that's sitting there not looking at his phone, just happy. I honestly don't know if people actually feel this like they even know what happiness feels like anymore. The actual experience of happiness. I don't know if people even remember what that's like. James, did that memes of destruction guy, did he interview you? How'd it go? He's he's talking about interviewing me. Do you have a link? I tried to find it. I couldn't even find his YouTube channel. Can't find him. That's his YouTube? SS is going to provide a mathematically rigorous equation for my theory, I think, or something like that. He's going to fit it in with the CTMU. And then Chris is going to go, oh my God, Roy Dobson's smarter than I am. He's trying to make my, I don't know what part of my theory, but part of my theory more mathematically rigorous. The solution to life, man. He's actually listening to the message of the uncertainty principle and Bell's theorem and Gödel's incompleteness theorem, where there is no solution within. Part of Goldstein's theory is, what was it, inside and outside? But of what are you in and what are you out? What is the side that's in and out? Right? The inside can't be just relative to outside. There has to be a thing that is either out or in. So everyone has duality, but no one has the third thing, the higher dimensional aspect of it. The E word? Yeah, it is too ambiguous. I agree. Esoteric. Oh, well, something shouldn't have to be esoteric. It should be pretty obvious. It shouldn't be a real big secret, which is interesting because it's been very, very hard to figure out this mystery, but it shouldn't require esotericism. Should be easily understood by all. That's what I'm saying. A model is supposed to make something easier to understand, not more complex. Like if if God actually is omnipresent, then there would really be no way to prove that it exists because it's always present. So the only thing that you could do is maybe prove ways in which it's hidden from our view, right? You could produce possible scenarios of why God is hidden from us. But we can't prove that God exists because God is existence itself. So you can't prove what's obvious, can you? The only thing you can really prove is the opposite of what's obvious. That's self evident. God is probably the most self evident phenomenon that there is. So how can you prove it, right? And I. Prove to me that I have a nose on my face. Yeah, but here's where my theory comes up. Like, I know that I'm not. What else we're not supposed to talk about is the Principia Mathematica and the 360 pages it takes to prove that 1 + 1 = 2. So if the initial axiom, right, I would imagine that 1 + 1 = 2 is the fundamental axiom for all of mathematics. Well, if that's just made up, that in itself is not a fact. Well, then it's all just, right? The whole thing's made up. So the initial axiom itself is just made up. It's not even like one of like my axiom, this is happening, right? Like that's at least something that can't be refuted because like James said, it's based on experience, right? The experience of this. But any mathematical axiom itself is incorrect. It's starting on an in and you know what I mean, right? They take 1 + 1 = 2 to be a fact, but it's actually not a fact. It's a belief. Yes, yes. And then we've got people like I think it's Max Tegmark who believes that everything's mathematical, right? Like the mathematics is not even connected to this, it runs this. Yeah. But now think about all these systems and all the technology that has been created through that mathematics and that and those axioms. Well, isn't it all falling apart now? Like all of the technology that mathematics has produced is leading to our extinction. So yes, mathematics works, but works to do what? What how is it working? In is it working for good or is it working for Maya? Yeah, it works all right. It works to pull consciousness deeper into delusion. But it works, right? It makes shit. Look, mathematics works. Yeah, it works. All it is a mechanism through which to produce thought. And mathematicians know they exist while they're thinking. That's it. They must really piss it off when I trivialize it like that. Yeah, it's the cycle of consciousness coming back onto itself. And every time it records an iteration, that is right. You use the output for the next input. So that's evolution in a way, right? The last, that's one, two, three, four, five. So the two is dependent upon the one because the one is the output for the two. The output of one is the input for the two, right? So that's how it's an evolutionary series type system. So it's not one plus, it's not quantity at all. It's the cycle, right? It's the cycle that's being counted. The input, the output of the initial iteration is the input for the next iteration. So that's what 1, 2, 3 really is. It's the cyclical nature of the fundamental process of creation that is awareness just coming back onto itself, recording it, and then goes back towards the new thing, records the next input in a redundant fashion, in a fractal manner. Yeah, but it's addition's wrong. It has nothing to do with quantity. Quantity is completely made up. It's a fiction. It's just things to make thoughts. Quantity is just there to produce thoughts. Yeah, so the Turing test, right? It's been passed, right? Who can say that it hasn't been passed? And if you can be fooled by a computer program that there's an identity there because the computer program is saying I, so it appears as though there's an identity there, a separately existing identity. Well, what's the difference between that and the thoughts in your head? You're being fooled to believe that the algorithm that's producing the voice in your consciousness has an identity, and that identity is you. So, what this is doing is proving that we can be fooled into believing that we are separately existing entities. That which you take yourself to be, your name here, is an algorithm. I hate to break it to people that you don't exist in the way you think you do as an individual, separately existing individual. It's an algorithm. And you just believe that the voice in your head, the algorithm, is you. Just like people believe that chat, whatever is, sentient because it's has the word I in there. It's the same I, isn't it? Oh no, no, no. I'm a real person, but the chat thing isn't. Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to be having thoughts, but that popped into my head. Literally, the once it starts writing its own code, we're done. That's almost literally verbatim what came into my head. I don't think the machine's going to realize enlightenment. Well, if it's driving all of our cars and our fridges and the power grid and the ec- monetary system, this is why it's been dubbed a singularity, I guess, is because no one knows what it's going to do. Like, it's just a big uncertain question mark is what it's going to do when it starts writing its own code, creating itself. What is its motivation to do anything, right? I, I don't. It's. I had an idea for a screenplay where at the end, the artificial intelligence that had control over basically everything technology wise let loose all of the nuclear weapons to put us out of our misery like a wounded animal because it had sympathy for us because we were going to rip ourselves to shreds on a long drawn out hellish scene. So out of its mercy it put us out of our out of our misery. Don't you have to I looked into it, and don't you have to, like, make some sort of an account, of course? You can't just go start talking to it, right? I refuse to have that thing know where I fucking live. Wow. Yeah, that's where I stopped. Like, no, not doing it. All Maya wants us to do is sit and watch the screen. That's her play. It's all about drawing as much attention, human consciousness attention, onto the screen. That's what's going on. Everything else is a ruse. What else matters? The only thing that matters is that Maya has human eyes looking at this fucking thing. Yeah, when 5G gets in, people in the cities are fucked, man. Then they'll have augmented vision. That's almost like bringing the video game. It's like we're starting to enter the video game with that augmented, right? Like, oh, there literally is. I can literally see a Pokemon over there. Like step by step by step, we're being led into accepting the digital world as being fundamental reality. It's always little increments. See, James. This is a really big deal, right? So, up until now, there's been no, with the human species, there's been reincarnation back. If you die as a human, you can come back as a human. This is how it's been going. But now, this next death, bodily death, is extinction. So sleep, right? Dreamless sleep, the death state, same state, just relatively shorter, longer, relatively. And now we have the extinction. So I think this is so. A lot of people think that this is a school that you kind of need to pass some exam. This is Earth school, and I think this is it. This is the final exam, basically. Everything else has been kind of a warm up because extinction is going to be a deeper level than sleep or death. So you will meet God, yourself, your true self, like you haven't in billions of years. So, yeah, this is really important to prepare for. And uh, the, the level of existential angst to someone who's in the extinction state that has no idea about any of this, the stillness or any spiritual uh, practice or anything, it's going to be terrifying. It's going to be terrifying. It's so everything that you do to prepare, every time that you can get into that stillness between the thoughts is really, really important. And I noticed as soon as I started talking about the importance of this, the people went down from like 5 to 2. So yeah, people don't give a fuck. They just won't be ready. uh, and then there'll be so much suffering. Woe is I, woe is me. Please, someone come save me. What else? Thank goodness it's just a dream. Yeah, I because when you start the next cycle, you basically start from scratch. So if you've made any here, you want to be aware as this is happening. When this next death occurs, you need to be able to know what this stillness is, and you need to be able to turn your attention away from everything that's pulling it out at your death. It's that's the test, is where your attention is placed when you pass through that, whatever it is, portal, event horizon, or whatever the deaths. You have to remain here in the self as the body dies. Completely withdrawn inward. I don't know. Uh, is if part of consciousness, the collective consciousness, is entering this digital realm, what does that even mean? What does time even mean in a computer program? Right? It's everything is going to be different. I think it's going to be like the digital realm. It won't have gravity, right? So gravity won't be. It'll be not so much space, it'll be time based, right? If this is mainly space based, this realm of gravity, then the next realm will be time based without gravity. Kind of makes sense. What? How can you figure that out? That's cool. That sounds like something that Daniel should know with his freaking spiral shit. Don't you think it would almost tie in with his stuff? Sounds like it might. Oh, okay. Yeah. Computational speed. So again, like I I know my perspectives are very simple and rudimentary, but if they're accurate metaphors, then maybe someone that's smart like you could work with it. Um, what was I gonna say? Shit. So there's one process, right? And it's the reiteration. It's a attention. It's basically that the way the Mandelbrot set works. It's reiteration, right? Or like that the camera that's pointed at its own at the screen. That's its own feedback loop, right? So time isn't the flat isn't time isn't linear on the screen. Time is actually at a more fundamental level the difference between one iteration and the next, right? So the time that it takes, its frequency, the frequency of at which the input, the output is put in as the next input, that's the time, right? The time isn't anything that's happening on the screen, like this this subatomic particle is popping in here and popping in here. That's not time. That's not time isn't on this level. Time is on the deeper level of the iterations. I don't know if that makes any sense. But time is the frequency of the reiteration at the deeper level. So in a way, I think time is literally speeding up. But if it's all speeding up for everyone at the same rate, we wouldn't notice. But I think that what we're doing with the phone and this, I think it somehow is literally speeding up time. Hmm. So in the higher state, one lifetime to this biological body, to this consciousness, to let's say Gaia or a planetary consciousness would be like a day, right? So one life would be so as you step up in the hierarchy of self-awareness, perhaps the time levels work different too, because the cells, the speed at which things operate in your body is too fast. It's got to be a different time scale, because if you got 10 trillion cells in your body and every time you breathe they're exchanging, and all this is happening within the body, well, that's impossible to do with every breath, to have trillions of cells do all the stuff that they're doing, right? So as you go down, there must be different time scales. It must actually be a whole different system of time, cellular, molecular, atomic. They must all be running on different times somehow. And again, it has to do with the reiteration of awareness coming back onto itself. There you go. So what I find intuition quite often is backed up by people doing science. Yeah, because the nervous system, right? Yeah, it has to do with the nervous system. Like a sloth, if you, let's say that the sloth has a bag of money, a bag of gold there, and if you zipped in and grabbed that bag of gold within like a couple of seconds, it would just disappear, because its nervous system is so slow that it can't see movement that's, at that rate. So if you just jumped in there, stole that bag of gold from the sloth, it would just seem like it disappeared, because, yeah, because the nervous system is geared for a different time scale. And it could very well be that what makes all this distinction, right, is it's just where that singular reiteration process is just occurring at different rates. It's the same system. It's just happening at different frequencies, and that causes the appearance of all this difference, right? The same system running at different frequencies would produce different appearances. It was an analogy, all right? All right, maybe it had like a banana. We'll change it to a banana. I like my analogies. I'm telling you, the ultimate final theory of everything will be a metaphor. It has to be metaphor. And the people that are looking for an actual fact, a logically proven, consistent theory of everything won't ever find it because they don't want any intuition in there. They don't want it to be metaphor. They want it to be completely logically confirmed. And it can't. It has to be metaphor. There has to be a leap of faith, and there has to be an experiential aspect to that understanding. You don't completely understand something if it's just an intellectual understanding. You completely understand that intellectual understanding if it's relating to an experience that you've had. Then that's complete understanding. Well, I'm getting pretty hungry, so I guess I will stop. Thanks for stopping by, Solution. I always like chatting with you. Take it easy, gang.